bones, and I can't remember what the line was, but I would constantly be taking the piss out of her for it, because when Rose talks, she has a very, very sort of proper English, very posh accent, sort of like this. And then she does this northern accent for it, and it just sounded so ridiculous to me, her saying that. This very polite, lovely young woman saying things about, bollocks and penises is an analogy. But yeah, that was, I think, one of my fondest days of filming, actually. We were up on a very, very beautiful occasion with David Nutter, who's an incredible director. Um, and we were just very sort of, it was a very isolated spot. It was David Nutter's last day on that season, and the whole scene, I really enjoyed playing that scene. I thought it was beautifully written, and he directed it very well and very kind of delicately.
Thank you. Hi. I actually have two questions.
Yes.
So the first one I have is, who is actually one of your favorite co-stars to film a scene with?
Ah, I the I would say that I feel very, very privileged to film the scenes with all the Night's Watch boys, um, with John Bradley, with Mark Stanley who plays Gren, with Joseph Alton who plays Pip, with Ben Crompton who plays Dolores Ed. We've got a very, very tight bond as a group now, and we spend a lot of time with each other. The season just gone. I hope that's not giving anything away. And we're very, very close. They're brilliant, brilliant actors, and I'm very happy to be with them. But Rose Leslie as well is a joy to work with. She's absolutely fantastic. But I think because we're all young actors, and this is maybe one of our very first jobs. It was my first TV job, and I think it was for John Bradley and also Mark. That we're very, very good friends off set, because it tightly knits you together, this sort of shared experience, and the show becoming so popular.
Awesome. And then, if you couldn't be Jon Snow, what character would you have tried to play?
I would have been Bronn. To this day, my favourite line in the whole thing is, "Sir, you don't fight with honour." And he goes, "No, he did."
Kit, you've been, you mentioned this was your first television experience. Before you came to Game of Thrones, you were starring in the West End in War Horse on the stage, the live stage. And I know now you've gone on to do major feature films like Silent Hill and Pompeii. So you've hit all three bases: the theater, television, and film. Which one do you prefer? What are the differences between them?
Between my experience of TV and my experience of film, there is very, very little difference. I think that's one of the interesting things about those two mediums at the moment, is that they're blending. Especially with Thrones, the only difference I can see from having done a big, big budget movie, the only difference is that when I turned up, coming back off from Pompeii, back to the Thrones set, and asked one of the ADs if they could get me a coffee, they said, "Get it yourself." That's like the only difference I can see. I've been pampered a bit more in the film world, and that's what I love about Game of Thrones. But the budgets and the way it's shot are similar. We have a bit more. The other thing is, when you're doing a big film, you can say, actually, you know what, I'd like to do that again. And again, I came back to Thrones in season 4, having done Pompeii with that luxury of the time we had, and I said, I'd like to do that again, and they said, only if you're quick. So, but theatre is very different. Theatre, I haven't done any theatre since a play called Posh, which was when I was waiting to see if Game of Thrones was going to go to series, so it was about four and a bit years ago. And with British theatre especially, it's very difficult. Actually, I feel it can be quite a snobbish place. It's quite a clique, and it's quite difficult to break back into theatre once you've left. They have a sort of feeling of if you've left us, then you have to earn your way back in, and I fully intend to earn my way back in because I love it. But theatre, yeah, I mean, I did a talk show last night, and I had nerves. I had my nerves back in a way that I hadn't experienced since doing theatre. In film, it's a different type of nervous energy. But it's that adrenaline rush you have when you're going out on stage and doing a performance, which is the really addictive thing. And it's why I got into acting in the first place, that I did lots of plays when I was growing up, and I lots of extracurricular drama, because it's a very addictive thing. And I think people always say, there's this opinion of theatre actors that how do you do it? It must be terrifying. And it's because it is terrifying that they do it. The most nervous people in the world are probably, I think Judi Dench is one of the most nervous performers in the world, still is terrified before she goes on stage. And that's the addictive nature of it.
Question?
Hey,
Okay, I have 2 questions for you as well. But before my questions, I actually have 2 statements as well. One is, I'm sure you can't see, but I'm wearing a shirt that I made, a very enthusiastic Jon Snow shirt.
come a bit closer. Oh, I love it. It's wonderful.
My second statement is, last week, we missed you. Totally forgivable. You had something else to do. I did dress as Egret last week. I had the fur cloak and everything. I was. Everybody who was here? Okay. That all being said, I'm a huge Jon Snow nerd. I'm a nerd for you. Okay. Anyway, here's my questions. First being, as an actor, as approaching, what you do as work, I'm really curious to know what scene, when you were getting up to go to work today, oh, this is what I'm gonna do, what scene really intimidated you and made you go, oh God, oh hell, I have to do that scene today? Was it the cave scene with Egret? What was it? What,
The cave scene actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
it-
Spoilers? Sorry.
It was the cave scene. I had a broken ankle at the time.
Oh.
So I had to, it was one of the first things you do. I was still on crutches. And I had to crutch onto set naked. Let me tell you, there is no way of covering up yourself. So I had a whole crew of about 100 people stifling, trying not to laugh while they watched this, and that was humiliating. But as far as an intimidating scene, one that I wanted to do justice, or that I felt was very, very important and was terrifying to do, I think probably it was my first and pretty much only solo scene with Sean Bean. It was right at the very start, and we ride up on horses, and we say goodbye to each other. And I think during the day it was brilliant. Sean made it very easy, and it went very well. But before going to that scene, I knew I was going to do a scene with a master of the screen, with Sean Bean, and that can be a bit intimidating. You don't know if they're going to dominate the performance, if they're going to play games with you, and Sean was absolutely delightful, and I think that was probably one of them.
Okay, thanks. And I have one just silly question.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite band?
Good question.
What are you listening to right now?
Before you called, I was listening to Nick Cave.
I have Nick Cave.
Nick Cave tattoo.
I have Nick Cave tattooed on my arm.
He's a hero of mine.
Awesome.
I met one of my. Actually, they came to set. They were doing a performance in Belfast, and they came to set on one of the days I was filming this year, which is the band The National. And I got to have lunch with The National, which was amazing.
Awesome. Lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. I love your cinema, by the way, George.
Oh, well, thank you. You should,
It is a nice cinema.
Yeah.
I hope sometime you get to come here in person. We'd love to have you in. It's fantastic. But we have more questions, so.
Hi, kid. I'm Stratton. Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
I thought getting your own copy was not what happened after you worked for Game of Thrones. It was delivered by Raven.
No.
Have you read the books?
I have. I've read 4 out of the 5.
Oh, okay.
So I'm coming to a point within the TV series where we are catching up with where I've read to. And I've got a bit of a dilemma in my head. I sort of know what happens in the 5th from what I've been told, but I haven't read it. And I'm at a point now where I'm trying to battle with myself whether I read it or not. And I think I will.
No, you will. But I'd like to know, has George ever made you very angry? That's my only question.
No, actually. No, he hasn't. I'm trying to think. I'm desperately racking my brain to see if there's a time when I've been annoyed at George when reading the books. No, I genuinely. I tell you when I was annoyed when reading the book. No, it wasn't reading the books. I used to work in a bookshop. It was my first job. And I worked down in the basement at a bookshop called Waterstones in the UK. And every fucking sorry, there's no children. Just watch Game of Thrones. I don't know why. Yeah. Every fucking day I had to lug George's books down to the basement. Do you know how much those things weigh? So yeah, that's when I was most annoyed with George Martin, when I hadn't even got the part and it was my first job.
Well, you're very kind-hearted.
It got you in good shape for those nude scenes.
Hi.
Hello.
So, the big question with your character, of course, is who is Jon Snow's mother? And I was wondering if you have a favorite, like, crazy fan theory about who it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've been aware of some of the rumors. You know, I'm now a big fan of the books and the show, and I have my own theories. I don't think it's. Is it Willa, the person it's meant to be? Is that right, George?
Willa?
Willa, the person that he was told it is. Is that right?
That is right. That is right. That is one of the rumors floating around, one of the things that was told to certain people.
I don't think it's her. I think it's my personal belief is it's something to do that Ned Stark has been hiding a big secret about him. But I wouldn't want to guess. I'm very careful not to guess or tell my theories, just because I don't want to speculate. I almost, because it's in a weird sort of character way, because he doesn't know, I don't want to even think about knowing.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy,
Howdy.
Dr. Santa Fe here. How did you manage the shooting schedule between Pompey and Game of Thrones, and where was your favorite location to shoot either of those movies?
The way my commitments work is that Thrones shoots from every year from about July through to about November. So during that time, I think the first year for actors, they tried to fit in other movies. You know, if we wanted to do other movies, we could try and do it. And now, because of the success of the show and because a lot of actors are getting other work because of it, if you shift dates for one person, you have to shift dates, you set a precedent and have to shift dates for everyone else. So they now kind of just say, you know, unless it doesn't fit in with your shooting schedule, then we're not shifting dates for you. So I shot Pompeii in the first half of the year, from about February through to about June. It was a long shoot. And that's the way I try and do it. I love my life in Thrones. and it gives me the freedom to experiment with other movies, with be it theatre or movies. It gives me the freedom and the financial freedom to go and do other things that I want to do. So I wanted to play a lead role in I wanted to do a leading man role, other than Jon Snow, which is a principal character. I wanted to be a lead in a movie, and that was the reason I wanted to do Pompeii. And favourite places. Pompeii was very theatrical in a way. It was all in one big studio in Toronto, so nowhere near Italy. And so every day we'd go to the same studio, and it'd be these huge big sets built inside. I think I prefer the location work that we do on Thrones, and Iceland I am very, very, very fond of Iceland as a place. I think if I were to have a second home at some point, I might buy one in Reykjavik. If you haven't been there and you have a chance to go, I really recommend you do it. It's an amazing place.
Hi. I want to ask the question that I think is on everyone's mind. Would you rather fight 10 Tyrion-sized Hodors or 1 Hodor-sized Tyrion? And why?
Yes, that's one everyone asks.
I would go for, just for the amusement value, I would go for 10 Tyrion-sized Hodors. You know, I think that, and the reason why I would do that is that's such a brilliant image of them all running at you shouting Hodor is fantastic. So yeah, it's simple for me. That I do that.
Hi, thank you for being here. I was wondering, this is kind of a lame question compared to that one, but if you had, what was the greatest challenge for you filming Game of Thrones, and what was your favorite aspects of it?
That's not a lame question at all. The greatest challenges came this season, actually, for me. It's a big season for Jon this season, so I can't really tell you about that. But as far as what you've seen and what we've done in Thrones so far, the fight with Qhorin Halfhand at the end of season 2 was physically...
Haven't gotten that yet. Have we gotten that? No, we haven't gotten that. Next week.
Shit. I'm so good with spoilers. That's the first time I've done that.
Well, you didn't say what happens in the fight, so you're good. Just
Sorry. Okay. I won't tell you about that then. So other testing stuff. I think season 1. I don't know really. I mean, it's all the really tough bits about it are where you have to. It's a difficult question. I think I just love it really. I don't never see it as kind of a very testing thing. I just really love it. Sorry, that's a terrible answer.
Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering, though this might be a bit speculation-y, do you have a group or a person who you're kind of rooting for to win in the Game of Thrones?
I kind of do, yeah. I think it's not really about who wins. I think this place, Westeros, is such a hideous place to live that I don't think there are any winners in a strange sort of way. I know the people who I think are good and the people I'm rooting for. And it changes, you know. I never used to be rooting for Jaime Lannister, and now I am. I never used to be rooting for Varys, and now I am. I think Varys is actually one of the more sympathetic characters. Generally, I root for Tyrion. I think like Tyrion and Varys, that kind of storyline is quite interesting, and I think there could be they're quite logical people in many ways. In this place where there's a lot of want for power and a need for and a lot of corruption, those two people seem to actually talk a lot of sense. So it's probably Varys and Tyrion, and Bronn thrown in just because I think he's fantastic.
Okay, so we just finished the episode where it's revealed that the boys are still alive, the Stark boys are still alive. And it's kind of like, wait, what? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Up to this point, what's your favorite moment that's just like, wait, this is happening now? Oh my god!
And now where are you again? Because now you're near the.
They're at
season
season 2,
right?
episode 8. They haven't gotten to the Battle of the Blackwater yet. That's the next episode.
Okay. The craziest thing in those bits, it's probably. I guess I know this is a predictable one, but Sean Bean's death. When I read the books, I read the books before reading the series, and so I got to that, and I remember exactly where I was. I was in my parents' drawing room in Worcestershire, and I remember going, "Holy fuck!" Like, just really, it blew me away as a choice, as a storyline choice. Yeah, I think anything that's sort of maybe infanticide, like you just mentioned, is pretty horrific. Yeah,
Whoa! Yeah, I have a freeze there, but that's okay. Go on.
Oh, so I said those two things. The infanticide bit is always pretty horrific, and Sean Bean's death is very shocking. It's very, it goes against the norm.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
So one of the things that I think many of us love about Jon is just his constant battle with his morality.
Mm-hmm.
And are there ever times where you're reading the script or you're reading the books and you're going, come on, man, just live, it's okay?
Yeah, I think an interesting battle that he fights with isn't so much his morality, it's his ambition. I think he's a far more. My first instinct about him was this is a place where everyone wants power and is hungry for power, and power corrupts. And Jon isn't any different, really. He's a better person, and he wants power to protect his friends, but he's the black sheep of the family. He goes to the Night's Watch because he's ambitious, because he wants to lead, because he wants that glory. And I think that's the real struggle inside him, is how does he balance that almost quite unhealthy ambition within him with the wanting to protect those people around him and do the right thing, and his honor and his duty and what his father taught him. The first thing I ever thought about him as a character is he's a very internal person, and also a person unlike modern day man who we can relate to. I think that was important to me. He doesn't sort of talk about his feelings like a lot of people do in the story. He keeps it all pent up inside him, and it's slowly winding up. It's slowly getting like more taut, and there's this, I don't know, it's hard to kind of express your ideas about a character, but that's kind of where I came to him with, is that he doesn't know how to, a bit like I don't now, he doesn't know how to express himself verbally. And you see that all throughout. And I like that people just talk at him and he sort of takes it in, and that he's silent about it. He doesn't really say much.
Hi, I have a question about the direwolves.
And what it was like through the seasons, starting acting with real canines to acting with their computer substitutes.
The computer substitutes are a lot easier. With a real dog, I remember like the scene right at the start when, you know, when they find the puppies, they find the little wolf pups. Those were little baby huskies. They were so adorable. And I was given the task, because I was closest to the wolf, of shepherding these things. They say action, and all through the scene, I'm just trying to act. And these wolves, these little husky pups, are slowly sort of getting disinterested in their sort of big fake dead mother. And starting to crawl around underneath my cloak. And I'm going, I don't know now where they are. In a minute I have to stand up. And it was quite horrible because I'd stand up and you'd hear a squeak because I just stepped up. This wasn't a point where I was happy in my career where I could stop a scene. I was terrified that they'd kill me. So I was just, that whole scene, I was just standing on puppies. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, working with, there's an old saying, working with animals and children, you should never do. And the children on this were brilliant, as you know. The animals could be a bit tough. It sort of dominates the scene when you've got to wait for an animal to do the right thing, and if they've done the right thing and you've done a shit scene, they're going to take the one that the animal did right. So, it's a bit frustrating. I like the CGI. I also feel that they look more like what they're meant to look like now they're CGI. The Huskies still had a certain dog quality about them.
So now you're working with tennis balls, is that correct?
Well, they're actually big green sausage. They're kind of like, they're like this big green sausage head, and it's sort of like, for want of a better word, petting a big, it does look stupid because it looks like a big green penis. It's actually not easy. You can concentrate on your job without the dog looking for where its next meal's coming.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your wonderful performance. We've all really enjoyed your performance and look forward to this next season. Did you know that we had a wolf here with us this evening?
I think George emailed me to say that, and I didn't know whether he was joking or not. You actually had a...
Yes, we had an Arctic wolf named Stormy.
Oh, wow.
As big as Ghost and as white as Ghost.
It's just absolutely beautiful and well-behaved and wonderful. It was exciting to have him here. My question is, what's next for you? You've still got many seasons, hopefully, of Game of Thrones, but what would you like to do next?
I'm always quite lucky. I always nail down a few jobs at this time of the year. This is partly why I'm out in LA at the moment. I live in London. I'm going back to London tomorrow. A big desire for me, there were two big desires I had for this year. One, which was to step into this century, because I've spent a lot of time in a certain genre or a certain period of history, including Pompeii, although Pompeii is very stylistically different from Game of Thrones. There's similar swordsmanship involved, and so for me I wanted to branch out, and also I wanted to return to the UK to do a couple of things, because I've done a lot of American stuff now, which has been fantastic, but I think the really clever British actors balance their work in the UK as well as their US work. So I'm going off and I'm doing two films. I'm back to back. I'm doing a film called Did anyone ever read the book Testament of Youth? It's about a poet, Vera Brittain, and it's First World War piece, and it's about her and her lover Roland Leighton. And I'm playing the Roland character, and a wonderful actress called Alicia Vikander is playing the Vera Brittain part, and it's very, very moving. It's very different from anything I've done. It's actually I did War Horse, which is a First World War piece, but it's on camera it's different. And then straight after that I do a spy thriller called Spooks, which was a big TV series in the UK a while ago, and they're making a film of it, and I'm playing the sort of lead young man in that. So two quite different things from stuff I'd done, and very intelligently written, and and I'm really looking forward to it. The publicity stuff is fun, but you start forgetting you're actually an actor. When your job is to talk about yourself all the time, constantly, for weeks on end, you are so happy to play a character after a while. So I'm looking forward to getting back and doing that.
Hi, 2 questions. First off, do you like it now if somebody calls you a bloody bastard?
Well, the story I always tell is that people, I'm always with a friend in the street, and some of my friends haven't seen Thrones, and you do get people come up to you and say, "You know nothing, you bastard." Thank you very much. I just told you don't know anything, you bastard. Why are you posting? So yeah, it's weird having the title the bastard, but I quite like it. It makes me different. I was looking up some family history recently, and we do have quite a few bastards in there, so it's good.
Secondly, what are your reflections on John's relationship with Sam?
Me and John Bradley, who plays Samuel, are very, very close. We're best friends, and we have long discussions about their relationship, which helps us on screen. And I find it. There's a point in the second season where John doesn't help Samwell with Gilly. He says, you shouldn't be doing this, I'm not going to do this. And to that point, Samwell has always hero worshipped John. And then John turns around and, because of his duty, he says, we have to look at the bigger picture. And Samwell sort of gets hurt by that. And we had this big discussion about, quite soon after that, Corin Harfan turns up and says, and John volunteers to go, and immediately they say no, and then Samwell is the one who, for no apparent reason, pipes up and says, you should let him go. And I think me and John had big discussions about that. I think the scenes that you don't see around these scenes that are in the TV show or in the book, there's obvious life that carries on through this, and I think they've fallen out at that point. I think they've had you don't see them buddy up like they were, and that changes their whole relationship up and through, to season 4, where I think things have changed between them, and I think they have a respect for each other, but they do lock horns, and it's great to play with that.
Kit, you mentioned you're looking up the family history and finding the bastards there. I was reading online that you are actually descended from British nobility, right? You have a great-grandfather who's a viscount or a baron or something like that?
Yeah, I found out on Wikipedia recently that it's a great way of finding out. Like my great-granddad 9 times removed was Charles II, and I don't know how true this is. You just never know whether these genealogy sites are absolute bullshit or whether they're not. But from my father's side, we have certain nobility back that side, yeah.
So if you could, just get rid of all the people in the way, you could become an inherited castle and just a few stone things.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's kind of. I don't know what number I am in line to the throne, but I think it's probably quite low.
Did we have a? Yeah.
There's 3 more.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
I was curious, since you have to know that this show kind of is popular in the geeky demographic of all of us. If you had to, and with the rise of popularity of superhero movies, if you had to choose a superhero that you could be in a movie, which one would
I think I would be. I quite like the ones that are sort of understated a bit. I'm trying to think of an example now and I can't. I like the kind of. I don't know. I would be an X-Men character. I think I'd be.
Gambit.
I know he's been played, but I would love to have been Wolverine. I would have loved to have been Wolverine. I could have definitely done that.
Hugh Jackman's retiring as him.
They said Hugh Jackman's retiring apparently.
Yeah.
Well, they keep making these things. They keep rebooting them. So maybe one day I'll start putting it out there over here in LA. I'll start saying I want to play the next Wolverine. You can see what happens. You might have given me a really good idea there, mate. Now I'm thinking about it.
Hey, how are you, man?
Hey.
Oh, okay, the question is, would you like the Jon Snow character to join Daenerys' rebellion? And if so, would it be for the dragons or for her personality?
Well, I think they're gonna fight or fuck. It's one of the two.
They say it's spoiler.
Spoilers. I think that.
Okay, let's see what the fans want. How many want to see them fight? How many want to see them fuck?
Let's go ahead and write it then, John. I think that John would see a benefit to befriending her. I think he has his duty, which is defending the kingdoms from the White Walkers, and she has dragons, which is going to help. So I think that he would definitely. He's a logical man, and I don't think he'd want to fight her. I think he'd want to join up.
Thank you.
I have three quick little things. First of all, where are you in LA right now?
I'm in West Hollywood. I've rented a house. I've been here about a month. It's the longest I've ever been to LA. I don't intend on living in LA. It's not. It's I really love coming here, but I'm too much of a London boy to move away. But I don't mind coming here for periods of time. So I'm in West Hollywood.
Oh, cool. Do you mind? Can you give us a little swivel? Can you show us your pad?
It's very messy. It's let's have a look. I'm packing up at the moment, so it's like I can show you around. It's my little house. There's a bedroom through there. Come down here, bathroom. My bedroom here, which is very unmade. Nice little porch out there with my cigarette butts. Let's have a look. And through here you've got the little. Is this very boring?
No. That's great.
I've got my my little kitchen through here. It's and look at all that washing up piled up. So that's my little house I rented.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. And last little bit is, can you give us like a little fun anecdote from your day in LA today?
And then what have I done today?
Just like some fun little quirk that happened, or
You know, I've been so busy recently. I got back earlier, and it took me. This is no word of a lie. It took me a good 5 minutes to remember what I'd done today, because my brain's so fried from everything that I had to sit down and think, what was I doing today? I went for a meeting out in the Warner Brothers lot, and then, which I still find amazing when you go onto it and you see that water tower. That still gives me like shivers, because I don't know, the first time I saw it was amazing. And then I had a very long interview. When you do I'm doing a cover for a big magazine And when you do one of those, you don't just do a 20-minute interview with a journalist. You spend about 5 hours with them. So I went for a walk up Runyon Canyon with him, and then we went for a lunch and talked. Which magazine? Am I allowed to say? Probably. I don't know how these things work, whether I'm allowed to say or not.
Probably not. Probably not.
Probably not, so I won't. But what I will say is it's a magazine that I feel very, very privileged to be doing the cover of. So yeah.
So we've had Kit for quite a while. We should start winding it down. Let's do three more questions, and we'll be in the Drew's in the back.
Hey Kit, I love your character and the sort of like romantic moodiness of Jon Snow. And I love how he's like evolving in the second season and the third season. I won't go into detail, but the question that came to me, if you were to kind of evolve further in his explorations, of all the male characters on the show, who would Jon Snow go gay for?
That's hilarious. I never expected that question to turn that way. Wow. I would say, I mean, the one that keeps coming to my head is Robb Stark, but that's really sick. That's just because I fancy Richard. That's you can't. No, I tell you what, if you can do brother-sister incest, you can do brother-brother incest.
Hey?
Hi, Kit. My question is about all the female co-stars you have and who, of all the actresses or the parts they play, who do you which one do you like the best?
Who do I fancy?
I didn't want to say it that way.
There's so many gorgeous women in our show. But the thing that always amazes me is that, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, is how similar sometimes the characters, the actors on our show are to their characters. And I don't know why I mentioned that, but they are. But I don't know. I think, I mean, everyone's got. They're so. The characters. Who would I fancy as a character? I think I would probably go for Ygritte, actually, because I think she's feisty, and I always go for tomboys. I always go for tomboy-like girls, and I think she's like that.
You know, you dirty-minded people, he has taken a vow of celibacy. So, one more question here, and we'll let you go here.
Okay, so for Jon Snow's inevitable death, how do you hope he dies?
I just want a really good death. I want I've always thought like going out against a dragon would be fun. Or I don't want to be killed by a White Walker. Because I think that would be kind of horrid. I hope he listens. I don't know, how would I want him to die? Some kind of
So you choose fire over ice.
Yeah, I would choose a fiery death over. At least I'll be warm for once in this video. Yeah, something like that. Some kind of epic death against a beast of some sort.
All right. Well, I guess that's a great note to go out on. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Please do come visit us in person sometime.
We'd love to, and thank you. And it looked so lovely, and the questions were so great. And big love, and take care.
We'll try to book these movies that you're going to make next year. They sound like good things to play here at the Jean Cocteau.
Yeah, I'll get on it, George. I'll get on it now.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay, and now the door prizes.
Rob, crisis, get your ticket.